Welcome to another exciting episode on the show, Control or Be Controlled, a podcast designed to help you start thinking differently and take control of your life. And I remain your host, Darlington. Today's guest is Jessica Danel. She's an author, entrepreneur, and podcast host, and storyteller whose no filter approach to life has, resonate, has resonated with readers and listeners alike. Through her memoir, Bucket List from a Redneck Girl, and her podcast, Jess Saying, Jessica shares raw, hilarious, and heartfelt stories about motherhood, marriage, entrepreneurship, raising children with special needs, and finding the courage to start over. Our message is simple. Life's messiest moments often become our greatest lessons and our best stories. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
All right, thank you so much, Jessica, for coming to Control or Be Controlled. So let's get into the show proper with questions I have for you.
Okay.
Bucket List from a Redneck Girl. Such a bold title, I must say. What inspired you to write this memoir, and what do you hope readers take away from it?
Um, you know, I'm trying to think of a good, so many things inspired me to write it. One of them was I wanted to have something for my children because like right now, they don't really care about mommy too much. But when I'm gone, I'm sure they're going to want to know more about me, or maybe they'll think, man, I didn't even know my mom that well. Like I'm there for every single one of their needs. And I tell them I love them every day, but they don't really know the mommy story. And I don't tell them a lot because some of it's like hard to talk about with your kids. So I put it in a book, and that one day they'll read about their mother and know everything that they need to know about me, and maybe why I am the way I am, or was the way I am. You know what I mean? The other thing is, I thought that possibly, even though, when you grow up, you always feel alone with your thoughts, or you feel alone with all the things that you go through. I'm finding out that there are several people that went through there are many people in the world that have gone through the same thing and felt the same way. And while you grow up feeling alone in these thoughts and these things, you find out when you write a book that your words resonate with a lot of people. And so when they read it, they're like, they feel less alone now because they thought they were alone. And they're like, dang, I felt the same way. And so you kind of find a community when you write a book like this. And I'm really happy that I did write it because, one, it's a funny book. I mean, I laugh at everything, laugh at myself pretty much. Even the title, Bucket List from a Redneck Girl, essentially means, I grew up in a farming town north of California, back in the time when there wasn't that many people in the town, and everybody knew everybody. And, we were considered second class citizens because we weren't the bougie class of people. We weren't going to the bougie school. I went to like the low income school, even though I grew up middle class or lower middle class. But we weren't considered middle class to our community. So I grew up in they thought we were white trash basically, but I didn't really want to call myself white trash because I hate that word. So redneck seemed more fitting. And bucket list is because, when I started college, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and my counselor said, "Oh, what do you want to be?" And I'm like, I don't know. The only thing I really wanted to be when I grew up was a mother and a wife. I felt that was my calling. I didn't want to be Spider-Man or, a fireman or a policeman or any of that. I just wanted to be a mom. And so my counselor's like, well, that's no good. I can't give you classes on that. So he said, make a bucket list of things you want to do with your life. And that's what I did. And I pretty much hit most of them, but I still have more to come. And so, and a bucket list is something you can always add to and continue to strive. And I always say work really hard every day to try to reach your goals. And that's basically what a bucket list is, reaching your goals and, checking them off your list. Done and done. You know what I'm saying? I know this is a long answer to your question. Sorry. Sorry about that.
All right, thank you so much, Jessica. So, you share some deeply personal and sometimes painful stories in the book. Was there a chapter or moment that was especially difficult for you to write?
Yeah, I did have, there was a couple chapters in there that were difficult to write. Okay, so one, my high school was one of the first high schools in America to experience a high school shooting. This was back in 1992. It didn't get a lot of notoriety at the time, only because the news cycle was not like what it is today. Today something crazy happened, and then the next day something crazy is going to happen. But back then, it was just covered by the local news, not national. And also, the Rodney King verdict came out on the April 29th, 1992. And then there was rioting. And then the next day was my high school shooting. So we were kind of overshadowed by what was going on in LA and across America, So this gentleman came into my school. I say gentleman, but he was a 20-year-old. He went to our high school. We knew who he was. He was going to graduate, but he didn't. And that was part of the reason why he felt like his life was falling apart, was because his civics teacher, which is kind of like a history teacher, didn't pass him. And so he thought his whole life had fallen apart because of what this teacher didn't pass him, which means he could not graduate with his friends. So he came back to the school with the intention to kill that teacher. And what he did was he killed the teacher and 3 other students, all of which were friends of mine. And he shot 9 other people and held 80 students hostage. Now, they made a movie about this, actually. It didn't get a lot of news notoriety, but they did make a movie. And Henry Winkler, what played in it, he's the guy that plays Fonzie on Happy Days. He was also in Scream. He was the principal. I don't know if that can resonate with some of your listeners. Freddie Prinze Jr. was in the movie, and also an 80s star, which I know is Ricky Schroeder. He's a star he played on Silver Spoons and many other things, but Silver Spoons was his big claim to fame. Anyways, but they were all in the movie. So it was, critically acclaimed movie, and you can still buy it or watch it free, I think, with Amazon Prime. It's called Target of Rage. And so it'll tell the story. It's hard. So I wrote in my book, long story short, but I wrote in my book about the events that happened and where I was and how it affected our community. And that chapter is called Forever Living with PTSD, because we all still, have a hard time, coming to terms with what happened to us. And every year we cry and we post on Facebook, and never to forget and always to remember the ones that we loved and the ones that were injured. There are a lot of people that were shot that day that later died from their injuries, or I would say a life of pain. Like one kid got his whole shoulder blown off. So, you're talking about, people that were maimed and severely injured. So it was hard. And then, all the chapters were hard because what I did through life was always fall down. I felt like I was falling down all the time. I was making bad choices, making, piss poor choices. I had a hard time adulting, and, but then I always, worked my way back up to the top and persevered. And, what happens when you fall down? You can pull up your big girl panties and you keep going, So long answer to a short question. Sorry.
Okay. So, moving on. If someone could only read one chapter from your memoir, which one would you choose and why?
Okay, there's one chapter that I just think is the funniest one. There's two chapters that I think are kind of amazing, but one, okay, I'll just give you one. Because I know I can talk your ear off for a long time. So I'll give you one of my favorite chapters. It's called My God Story. Like I said, I was making poor choices. I left the house when my parents were out of town. I had already graduated high school, and I was getting ready to move out of the house. My plan was to move out this moment I turned 18. And I went out of town with my girlfriend in my car, and we went to Utah from California. And on the way home, I got lost, because I get lost even in my own neighborhood. I'm terrible with directions. My friend said, get on the 80, and I did, but I went the wrong way, and we ended up in Idaho. So if you look at the map, I was trying to get to California, and I went up a state instead of down. So, but we got lost, and we had no gasoline, and we were lost in the middle of like a deserty area. And I was literally rolling into a gas station with like fumes, no gasoline. And we were very hungry. We had been driving pretty much all day on one tank of gas. Back then, gas only cost $1.09. So you could fill up, with just $5 almost. So, so we ended up at this gas station because we were going to try to beg for money to find out where we were and to find out how to get more gas to get home, because we knew we were nowhere near home. And my friend was asleep in the back of the car, by the way. I was by myself, just listening to the music and kind of sweating, going, oh my God, where am I? This does not look familiar. And I was like, where am I? Where am I? And so I stopped at this gas station, and I get out and I go inside, and it's one of those old timey, like in a horror movie type of old school gas station. It had like a screen door, and you open it, it was creaky to open the door. So you go inside, and I asked the lady, I said, where am I? And she's like, you're in Eden, Idaho. And I told her where I was coming from, and I think I'm lost. And she could see I was almost in tears. And I said, well, Eden, Idaho. I go, I have family that's near Eden, Idaho, I think. And she goes, well, what's your family's name? Maybe I know them. And I said, my great grandma, her last name is Vineyard. And she looked at me with a crazy look, and she came around the corner of the cash register, and she gave me a side hug, and she opened up the door, and she said, see that road right there? That road is your grandma's street. You drive down that road, you're going to find your grandmother. And I mean, I literally was in the middle of nowhere. Like, we're talking thousands of miles away from my house. I couldn't believe it. Either could the lady. My great grandma and grandpa, their farm is like 300 acres, and it's a national landmark because it's made out of lava rocks, and you're never supposed to tear it down. And they were given their own street many, many, many years ago. They built the road they built the house in like 1901. So it's been there for a very long time. And so I drove down to my grandma's house and got gas to get back home. But the whole story was, I truly believed that the reason why I call this my God story is because I was like a lost little lamb in the middle of the desert. And somebody guided me or allowed me to land right at the street of my grandma's house so that I could get home safely. I was 17 years old, shouldn't have been out on my own. And I made it home safe. And I always felt from that moment on, I was being like protected. And I love that story. And there's more in it. I know I told you basically the gist of it, but there's a lot of funny parts to it. And there's a lot of other stuff that has happened within the story. So it's a great story. It's chapter 10, and it's like the middle of my story. So definitely worth reading.
Thank you so much, Jessica. So, honestly, I would love to check out your memoir as well. And this particular chapter that you have mentioned, I definitely would love to check that out. Thank you so much. So,
Thank you.
You have you have been open about raising children with special needs. How has that journey shaped you as both a person and a writer?
Well, when you just don't know. Like my husband and I, and we didn't grow up with knowing anybody that had special needs. You made fun of them, when you're younger. You called them retard. That's what we did when we were young, and that was the word that you used. Definitely would never use that word today, but I didn't know how to navigate with children with special needs. Didn't know nothing about it. I didn't even know my son really had special needs, but I realized after, like, when he was 8 years old, I was constantly being called to the to the school. And finally, we had him assessed, found out that he had Asperger's. He just doesn't, he's not he doesn't do well socially. That was his problem. He's a very smart kid, straight A student, but he didn't get along with people. And so he didn't get along with the teachers, and he didn't like to mind people. And it was really difficult. And then my daughter, I had a business that I built from scratch. And then my daughter was born in 2010, and she needed open heart surgery. And I talk about this in the book. It's called Blue Baby. It's chapter 19. And I go in detail about, Piper and all that she had to go through and what we had to go through as parents. And it's a deeply moving part of the story that I really love. And it's really hard, and now, she's 16 years old, and we found out last year that she has an intellectual disability based on a chromosomal check that we did, which we did when she was younger, but the science wasn't there when she was younger. And now that technology is better, we had her retested, and yep, she's got a chromosomal deficiency, and that has caused her to have autism. And so which explains a whole slew of things that has gone on in her life. Had we known this when she was younger, it might have helped us. But she also has cerebral palsy and, just a lot of other things besides having a bad heart. She's going to have another surgery here pretty soon. She'll have surgeries all her whole life. And so it's just something she has to do. And it's, it's sad, as a parent. But what you do is you just take one day at a time. I gave up my business so that I could, stay with her and make sure that she survived and was there for every second. And that's an easy thing to decide. And it was very easy to decide to be there for my kids. Work will come and go. People, friends come and go, but your children and your family, they're for life, and they're your responsibility to keep safe and to keep healthy. And that's what I did. I'm proud of it. Are you there?
Okay, thank you. I said your podcast, Jess Saying. I think that's a very interesting title because your name is Jessica Jess Saying.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
did you-
I'm sorry. Go say. I finish your question. I'm sorry. I interrupted you. My apologies.
so it covers parenting, business, and life challenges. How is the podcast different from writing a memoir?
I take a lot that I've learned through my writing the book, and a lot that I take the stories from my book and I try to make podcast guests come on that I have expertise in. So somebody wants to come on and talk about children with special needs. Well, I feel like I can relate and I can add, a lot to that conversation. And so I love having people like that on. I wrote a book. I'm also writing another one. So I like to have authors on, and I like to find out their backstory, because their backstory is very interesting, and how they came about to write a book. There's a lot to it. And I think that's wonderful. And so my podcast is Jess Saying, because my name is Jessica. Yeah. But I was going to call it Just Saying, Just. And then I was like, wait, duh. Like, my name is Jessica. So that's why it's Jess Saying. And I had to put my full name on there so that people can discern me from other podcast named similar to mine. So it's Jess Saying with Jessica Danel, Danel. Anybody out there listening? So I like the podcast because I get to meet people, connected with people because I work from home, and it's sometimes, I feel lonely. So it's really nice to connect with people out in the world. I talk to people all over, from Australia to France. Where are you calling me from? Africa? Where are we at? Where are you calling me from? I'm talking with you, and you're all over the world, and I'm just in California. So isn't this amazing that we get to do this? I think having a podcast is super cool, and I'm glad I'm doing it.
All right, Jessica. So tell us one lesson about resilience that you wish you would have known earlier in life.
Resilience, well, when you're young and you're a girl, you always wish you were skinnier. I just wish I was the same weight I was when I was 25. Just saying. Because I'm a little chunky girl now. But, like I said, I have had a lot of ups and downs in life. I fell down a lot. And all you got to do is pull yourself back up and keep working hard to reach your goals, because nobody else is going to help you. If you want to be, a business owner and you want to start a business and you have an idea, don't let anybody stop you. You just do it. Do you know what I mean? And when you fall down, you just get back up. And it's in the time. Every time that you get yourself back up, you gain strength, you gain resilience, and you're able to weather the storm during hard times. And I guess that would be my advice. Just never give up. Keep working hard. And when the chips are down, you just pick them back up and keep going.
Okay, Jess. So when I mentioned the name of your podcast, Jess Saying, I think you were about to say something. So could you just put us through how did you come about picking the name Jess Saying? It sounds like just saying.
Yeah, well, like I said it before, I thought it was going to be Just Saying, Just, but I ended up I'm like, duh. Like, it can be my name. My name is Jess. So it's Jessica, or Jess Saying with Jessica Danel. The reason why I put my name on there is so that you can tell the difference from other shows that have similar names. But yeah, the show is just Jess Saying with Jessica Danel. I like it. I think it has a good ring to it. Plus, I use that a lot. Lots of times when I talk, I say Just Saying. And because I've always, and in fact, I have a plaque of that. It says Just Saying on behind me in my office. So it's something that I say often. And so I thought, crap, I'll probably say it like 3 or 4 times in every podcast. So I might as well use it as my name. You know what I mean?
Definitely. That was a great pick, though. So here's my final question for you, Jess.
Yeah.
So what's next for Jessica Daniel? Can readers expect another memoir or perhaps even a fiction novel? Or are you planning a series?
Yeah, I've written I'm written 3 novels actually, and I'm on my last one, and they're like a book series, and it's a romance novel, and it's very spicy, like 49 Shades of Grey. It's for women, of course. But men can read it, but it's really for women because I'm very descriptive, and it makes you feel all nice and tingly when you read it. So, yeah, I guess you can call it a smut novel, whatever. It's a romance novel, has a little bit of thriller in it. So I'm good. I'll be working on that, and I'll probably self-publish this one.
Okay, thank you so much, Jess. Thank you for joining us and for sharing your story with such honesty, humor, and heart. Your willingness to embrace life's imperfections reminds us that our struggles don't define us. We often become the stories that inspire others the most. So, Jessica, for those that would like to check out your memoir, Bucket List from a Redneck Girl, and your podcast, Just Saying, how can they do that?
Yeah, you can find my book on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. And then in August, I'm going to self-publish, and then you'll be able to find my book probably on TikTok and Amazon. And you can also go to my website, jessaying.net. That's JESSSAYING.net, and find out more information about me and my podcast. And then all my social media icons are there. Click onto my social media and come like and follow me online so we can be part of the same community. I'm growing on TikTok. I've got 18,000. Just saying.
Wow, Jessica. So, if I had known you were growing on if you had if I know you had that amount of followers on TikTok, maybe we should have optioned for a video podcast.
Right.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for coming to my show.
Thank you.
And to all my audience as well, thank you guys for tuning in. Do where to check out our memoir and check out our podcast. Jess Saying. Bye, guys. Thank you,
Thank
Jessica.
you. Bye.